Today, we're cracking open the instruction manual for every living thing on the planet, and that includes you. We're talking about genetics. But don't worry, we're going to make it super simple. It all kind of boils down to something you already know. A recipe from a cookbook. Okay, this one idea, this is the key to everything. Gene is just a recipe. That's it. If you walk away with just one thing today, let it be that. Because trust me, this simple little analogy unlocks the whole puzzle. So, if a gene is a recipe, where is it written down? Well, every living thing from a blade of grass to you and me has a master cookbook. It's this huge, complete collection of every single recipe it'll ever need to build itself and keep everything running smoothly. Now, the official fancy scientific name for this cookbook is deoxyribonucleic acid. Yeah, let's just call it DNA. All you really need to remember is this. The DNA is the book. It's the priceless, one-of-a-kind master copy of all the instructions. So what's actually inside this giant book? Well, it's packed with thousands and thousands of individual recipes, and each one of those recipes is what we call a gene. So you've got a recipe for your hair color. That's a gene. A recipe for how tall you are. That's another gene. You get the idea now. Think about this. Let's say you have your grandma's irreplaceable cookbook. You wouldn't drag it into the kitchen and spill flour all over it, would you? No way. You'd probably just copy the one recipe you need onto a little note card. Well, it turns out your cells are just that smart. This whole copying process is called transcription. Here's how it works. First, that massive DNA cookbook carefully opens up to the exact recipe, the gene that's needed at that moment. Then, a special molecule comes along and acts like a little photocopier, making a temporary disposable copy of just that single page. And this copy, well, it gets its own special name, and that copy is called ribonucleic acid, or RNA. Just think of it as the note card. The RNA is the messenger. Its whole job is to carry that precious recipe from the library, which is the cell's nucleus, where the DNA is kept safe, out to the messy part of town, the kitchen. And this is where the magic happens. We've kept the master cookbook safe. We've copied our recipe onto a note card. And now it's finally time to head to the kitchen and actually make something. So this part is called translation. The RNA note card arrives at the cell's kitchen, which is called a ribosome. The ribosome is the chef, takes the note card and starts reading the recipe's instructions. And as it reads, it grabs the right ingredients. These are called amino acids, and it starts linking them together in the exact right order, one by one, until voila, the final dish is served. So what is this finished dish? It's a protein. Proteins are quite literally the building blocks of you. We're not just talking about muscle here. Proteins make up your hair, your skin, the enzymes that digest your food. Pretty much the whole shebang. You are literally made of these finished dishes. Okay, so the process seems pretty straightforward, right? What about all the differences between people? You know, why do some of us have blue eyes and others have brown? Well, that comes down to tiny variations in the recipes themselves. Scientists call these variations alleles. Think of it like this. You and I could both have a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. But maybe your recipe calls for walnuts and mine calls for pecans. They're both recipes for chocolate chip cookies, right? Just slightly different versions. That's what alleles are. Eye color is the classic perfect example of this. You'll have a gene for eye color, but the specific version of that recipe you have, your allele, is what determines the final product. So one al might be the recipe for blue eyes, while another is the recipe for brown eyes. Same dish, just a different variation. Alright, last big idea. And this one is a bit of a puzzle. Get this. Every single cell in your body, from a brain cell to a skin cell on your big toe, has the entire DNA cookbook inside of it. So, how does a cell know which recipes to actually use? Seriously, think about that for a second. If your brain cell has the complete cookbook with every recipe, why isn't it cooking up stomach acid? It has the recipe for it, right? What's stopping it? This question gets right to the heart of how incredibly organized life is. The answer is something called gene expression, and it's actually pretty simple. Even though a cell has all the recipes, it only uses the ones it needs for its specific job. All the other recipes, they're just turned off. A brain cell flips on the brain cell recipes and makes sure these stomach acid recipes are switched off.
Always.
A master chef who works at a fancy bakery might own a cookbook that has a great chapter on making soup, But since they work in a bakery, they just keep that chapter closed. Your cells are specialized chefs, and they only use the part of the cookbook that's relevant to their kitchen. So, let's do a super quick recap. The DNA is the master cookbook. Genes are the individual recipes inside. RNA is the temporary copy you take to the kitchen. Proteins are the amazing finished dishes. Alleles are just slight variations on a recipe. Gene expression is simply the chef deciding which meals to cook today. See, you've totally got this. And that brings us to a final really big thought. For pretty much all of human history, we've just been reading the cookbook that nature gave us. But now with technology like gene editing, we're on the very edge of being able to pick up the pen ourselves. So, I'll leave you with this question. If our DNA is a cookbook, what happens when we start writing our own recipes? Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe.